Welcome to Joydala's fashion guide. Today's video we are going to be making a short bubu with these 2 yards of fabric and this satin. It's going to have a v-neck and we'll be using this frills at the down part. This is the back pattern and then this is the front pattern. We're going to be drafting both of them together. So first of all, we're going to measure the length of our short bubu. So I'm just marking the length. I also mark it midway and at the edge so that I can have a straight line. So don't forget to add folding allowance to your length. So make sure that both patterns, for the front and the back pattern, that they are aligned together, so you can use your pin to hold them in place. So I'm going to rule my starting line at this top part. But first of all, I'll cut off the excess. So this is the excess after measuring our length. We'll be using this for our pockets later. So at this top part, I'm going to mark ½ inch. That will be our starting line, ½ inch. So I'm just using my long ruler to connect all that together. So I'm going to mark half of the shoulder measurement. Half of the shoulder measurement. I will not be adding any seam allowance since it's a cut together shoulder with sleeve. So this part is going to be the sleeve. I'm going to be adding 2 inches of satin to complete the length of the sleeve. So the next thing is to mark the length of the opening. But before that, we'll mark 1 inch shoulder slant. So this is the neckline. To get your perfect neckline, just divide your bust circumference by 12. And then after marking the neck width, I'll connect the 1 inch shoulder drop from there to the edge of the fabric. I'm doing it like this because it's a cut together shoulder with sleeve. Next, I'm going to be marking shoulder to the bust point, shoulder to waist, and shoulder to the hip line. Even though that it is a bubu, we will still make it to be a bit fitted. The bust and the hip line will not be the same measurement. So I also remark what I just marked now: shoulder to the bust line, shoulder to the waistline, and then shoulder to the hip line. So just connect that with a long ruler. So I've connected the bust line, the waistline, and now this is the hip line. So I'll go ahead and label. This is the bust line, this is the waistline, and then this is the hip line. So on the hip line, I'm going to mark quarter of the hip line, quarter of the hip measurement, quarter of the hip measurement, and then I'm going to be adding ease allowance to that. So I'm adding 4 inches ease allowance. So whatever I have on that hip line, I'll mark it at the edge. So after adding the ease allowance, I'll also add 1.5 inch seam allowance. So the total measurement I have at that hip line, I'll measure it at the down part. The hip line and the down part will be the same. I'll just repeat what I have there and then connect with a ruler. Now if you want your bubu to be straight towards the bust line, whatever you have at that hip line, you repeat it on the bust line. Okay, so I'm going to mark what I have on the hip line on the bust line. Now then I'll connect that to the hip line. But if you want your bubu to be a bit shapy, then you just use quarter of your bust circumference and then just add the ease allowance of choice. Now for the arm opening, I'm going to be using the bust line and then I'll add seam allowance to it. So whatever you have as your shoulder to the bust line, you can use that as your arm opening. For example, if you have 11, you can use 11 or you can use 12 depending on how you want it. So for the back neckline, the neck depth will be 1.5 inch. So I'll be marking that right now. So I'm going to mark everything on this upper pattern. Later on, we'll cut it out. So this is the back pattern. And then this is the front pattern. So the 1.5 inch depth for the back pattern, I'm marking it. Mark it against the neck width. The neck width for the front pattern and the back pattern are the same. Like I said earlier, to get your neck width, you can use your bust circumference divided by 12. And then you can decide to add 1/2 inch to that or use it directly like that. So for the front pattern, the front depth, neck depth will be 7 inches. So now I'm going to cut out the pattern using the back neckline. And then the shoulder slant. And then the side. So I'm cutting the both front and back pattern together. So I'm just trying to make sure that the armhole line is straight. So after drafting both of them together like this, then we can now separate the back pattern from the front pattern so that we can recut the front neckline. So we are going to separate the pattern and then we draft the front. The front is going to be a V neckline. Remember we marked 1.5 inch for the back, so make sure you place your tape well, and then we're going to mark 7 inches depth. I'm going to connect that to the neck width in a V form using the ruler. After which we just cut it out. So use your scissors to cut it out after marking. So we are going to be cutting out the satin. We are going to be using the satin to create the V-neck design. So you want to mark how long you want the V to be. So just take your satin, fold it into 2 on the wrong side. So I'm just trying to mark the shoulder. So when you are cutting out your satin, make sure that the piece you have folded can cover the neckline and the shoulder, part of the shoulder. So I'm just trying to fold my satin now. I'm going to fold the wrong side out so that we can mark on it. So we are folding the right side is inside. So next thing, you determine your length. For mine, it will get towards the waistline, and then we also mark the width. The width should cover the neckline and the shoulder. So if you use a 3.5 neckline, then the shoulder should not exceed 4 inches. So I want to have a straight cut, so I'm rolling the down part as my starting line. So this is optional. So I'm just trying to check for half of the shoulder measurement. Remember, our fabric is on fold, so at this point you can mark half of the shoulder measurement, and then from that down we have measured that from the down part that we have indicated our starting line, we'll mark the length that we want. So like I said, mine is going to stop around the waistline. So that is around 17 inches, and then we add one inch for seam. So once you've measured what you need, the next thing is just to cut it out so that we can see the piece that we are working with. So after cutting it out like this, we are going to place the front pattern against it so that we can get the V neckline. We're going to be tracing out the neckline that we have. Alternatively, the one that you cut off from this pattern, you can also use that to mark the neckline. So I'm just placing it on it. Make sure that the top align with the shoulder, and that the side, the folded side, that both of them align. At this point, you can use your pin to hold it in place and then cut out the V. So this is the first step. We cut out the V. After this, we are going to determine the width of the V design that we are going to make. So if you have any excess at the top, just trim it out. So this is it, still on fold. Now we are going to determine the width of our shoulder. So whatever you are marking as the width of the shoulder, remember to add 1 inch seam allowance. So if the shoulder is 4, then you mark at 5. So my shoulder is 4. And then at the down part, so this is the length that I want. At the down part, to get that V, I'm going to be marking about 1 inch, and then I will connect it to the 4 inches shoulder width that I have measured. So I'm just trying to cross check that the length is correct. So cross check all your measurements before cutting. So the essence of creating that, marking that 1 inch at the down, is just to mark, to be able to add the same allowance. So before you cut out the V shape that you want, ensure to add ½ inch seam allowance, because this is we are going to use ½ inch to fold in the edge. So this is what we have after cutting. We are going to iron interfacing on this before we add it to our pattern. So iron interfacing on it, and then we place it on the front pattern. We place it on the wrong side. We make sure that the wrong side to wrong side are facing. So next, now we are going to cut the back facing. We need to cut out the back faces. I'm just trying to check the fabric that I have. So this is the back pattern. So this is the front pattern that I cut before. So you see the V neckline. So this is how we are going to place it on the wrong side. We are going to place it on the wrong side. Then we sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance. We'll notch the middle. Okay, we'll notch that part so that we'll be able to flip it to the front. So that by the time you flip it to the front, the back will now be on top of the right pattern, on top of the front pattern, and then the front part of the satin will now be facing up. So next now is to cut out the back facing. So this is for the back neckline. Remember that the back, this is the back, so you just fold it into two. It's folded into two, and then we are going to use the same shoulder width that we use for the front. We are going to use it for the back, so that after joining, both of them will align together. So you can use your pin to hold your fabric in place. I'm just looking for my scissors. So you just trace out the neckline. Trace out the neckline and the shoulder. After, we should remove our pin. So this is what the back facing look like. Now the facing is going to be 2 inches. The length is going to be 2 inches, and then you can add seam allowance of 1/2 inch to that. So I'm just trying to shape the facing. So I'm confirming the neck, the shoulder width that I want. Note the shoulder width must correspond to the front pattern shoulder width, and then you can just curve it towards the down part. If you like, you can also use it as a square like this, but I want it to have a round neck to correspond with the roundness of the neckline. So we are also going to iron interfacing on this, and then we are going to sew this on the back pattern, just like we did for the front. We are going to be sewing it on the wrong side, because this facing is going to show. We are going to be sewing on the right side, and then this facing will be inside the bubu. If you want yours to be on the outside, then you just do the same. After sewing the neckline 1/2 inch, you need to notch it so that we'll be able to fold it in, and then you also fold in the edge. We'll come back to show you what it looks like. So next, we'll measure the sleeve, what we have, and then we cut it out on the satin. So measure your sleeve length and then cut it out on the satin. After that, this is what you're going to be using for the pocket. I'm just going to join both of them together so that I'll be able to, because we have 2 pockets. So first of all, I'm going to join these 2 together so that it will be wide enough, after which I will share it for both pockets. So I'll use 1/2 inch seam allowance to join it, and then we are going to share it into 2 for the pocket. I'm going to cut it into 2 for the pocket. This is Joydala Fashion Guide. Keep watching. So this is what we have. After sewing the back pattern with facing, this is the inside. So we are going to put hemming glue here and then iron it. This is the right side. And then this is the front pattern. So this is what the V look like. And then do well to iron so that you can position it properly. I've just used pin to tack it down. So the next thing we sew close to the edge. After that, we place the back pattern on it, right side facing each other. And then we join it at the shoulder. I'm going to recut this armhole so that the wideness can be, right now I have 31, so by the time I recut it, I will have okay, right now I have almost 33. By the time I recut it, I'll have 31, and then I'll just use 1 inch to sew, then it will leave us at 29, so it will be okay. So I'll join the shoulders and then cut the sleeve, the satin for the sleeve. I'll zoom in and finish sewing. I'll open it up like this, and then I'll measure what I have here. I'll measure what I have here. I have 22, I have seam allowance, so I'll cut 23, and then it will be 2 inches wide. So on fold that will be 4, plus seam allowance that will be 5. So I can cut 24 by 5. So I'm going to attach the sleeve before joining this side. The one for the pocket. This is the pocket. For the one on the pocket, I'm going to sew it over the sleeve. So I have to, it will be 10 inches wide, and then it will be 10 inches long by 3 inches width. Then after cutting, I'll attach it on the wrong side, sew it, and then flip it to the right side and fold it. So I'll quickly do that in the pocket and show you what it looks like. So we have attached the satin to the sleeve. Next is to attach the frills. So check the length of the bubu, then we'll fold the excess. We are going to use this to complete the length, so I folded it in twice. So I'm going to place this on it like this and use it to stitch it down. I'll repeat same for the back pattern, after which we'll join it at the side. We'll join the side, then it will be left with the pocket. This is what the pocket looked like after adding the satin. So we're almost done. This is Joydala Fashion Guide. So this is it after joining the side and attaching the frills. So we're going to add the pockets now. So you bring it inside out to the right side. So you check the shoulder to the waistline. So we are going to attach the pockets here. And place it like this. You can also iron first. So half of the pockets will be here, half will be here. So we use the side seam as the midpoint. Just mark the middle so that it can be centralized. So use your pins to hold it in place. You can open the sides, open it inside. So this is it. So we stitch close to the edge like this. Repeat same for the other side, and that will be all. I'll show you the final look on the mannequin. This is Joydala fashion, guys. So here is the final look of our short bubu with fringes and v-neck. Outer pocket. This is Joydala fashion, guys. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching.